right here, Think and Grow Rich. Has anybody ever? All right. You can see mine's a little bit thumbed out. And there's some principles in this book that Napoleon Hill teaches us. And I see, I can understand that you're driving. And if you're driving and can't put your video on, that's completely understandable. And Connor is going to talk to us about these principles. And who Connor is, he's founded the eXp Realty Wolfpack organization, has more than 2,700 agents worldwide. And, he's just an amazing thought leader, an amazing serial entrepreneur. And he's going to talk to us about the 17 principles that Napoleon Hill teaches us on how it got him out of $100,000 of debt. I didn't know a polite way to say $100,000 of debt. Connor, welcome. How are you? Well, Mudasar, nice to see you. Colin, hello. Ray, Mark, Leslie, King, Pamela, and everybody off camera. It's nice to see you guys as well, or nice to have you here. Nicole, Ursula, thank you for being here. Let's see. Miley, I know Miley's driving. Connor, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How's everybody doing? Can y'all hear?
I think we're doing good.
Okay, good. So how would you like to proceed, Dan? You want me to just take it away, or what would you want me to do? You want to?
I know, Connor, that I don't need to lead you. So I'm going to give you the floor. Let me chime in from time to time. That's my only request of mine.
Yeah. So like, if it's cool, I just did a speech up in Richmond at an event that was received pretty well. And I kind of go through my story and kind of my background and then how I got to where I am right now, but I tell it where I stumbled across personal education, self-development, how I came into that. And I'm going to cover a lot of lessons along that journey. And then if you want to stop me at any point, guys, we can go into any part of it and discuss it in detail. And I can go through it all, and then we can kind of open up at the end. But I think it's going to help you guys see a path, because the way we find ourselves in our future is see the stories of others that came before us and find ourselves in their story. And so I'm going to tell you mine, because when I was coming up in business, it was me watching stories of others that had to come back before me, because I was a bad spot in my life. I was $100,000 in debt. So I'm going to tell you guys, I think I can share my screen, Dan. Let's see real quick.
Should be able to.
Okay.
If not, yes, you can.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna tell you guys is how I had everything going, and then it started to go in the opposite direction, and I had everything not going, and I got $100,000 debt, had to move back home with my parents, and everything fell apart. Got to a very desperate part of my life, very depressing part of my life. And I was able to come out of it, and I'll talk about how that happened. We'll go into Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill. And I think this is going to be interesting for you guys, because this is my true story, and it is a comeback story. And I know everybody loves comeback. So quickly, before we go into this, guys, if you just to recap who I am, I'm the founder of the Wolfpack organization here at eXp Realty, 2,900 plus agents worldwide. Earlier this year in May was the first time we hit #1 net growth for the month. Right now, going into EXPCon, we should be #3 net growth for the year. We did a little under 10,000 houses last year. This year so far, we're right at breaking 10,000 houses. And if you want to check out my YouTube channels, my first one was Investor Army. I came up in the investment space first, which I'll talk about. And then the new one that I'm posting a lot on and going to be posting on going forward is my Connor Steinbrook channel. But I'm going to tell you kind of how I got here. My career is interesting, I guess. I started out as an online poker player, which we'll go into. And then that led me into real estate investing. I know that's a weird transition, but I'll explain how that happened. And then that led me to becoming an EXP Realty growth leader. Now, what I'm doing right now for my hobby, we'll just talk about maybe a little bit, is I am going to be pursuing one of my childhood goals in fishing in the Bassmaster Opens next year or the following year, which is something that you guys get to achieve, is your childhood goals and dreams if you can build a successful business. So I heard one time an entrepreneur tell me that because he built a business, he could chase his goals and dreams that he had when he was little. And it always hit hard with me. So I want you guys to remember that the goals and dreams that God put in your heart when you were little, don't stop thinking about those as you get older. We do, and that's what happens. We stop thinking about them, which is why we never achieve them. So I want you to think about what you wanted to be and what you want to do and what you'd want to have if you could have anything. And you can, and that's what we're going to go through and how you can achieve that. It's going to make sense. Now, I'm going to try to inspire you guys a little bit. I'm going to hopefully help you guys see some realistic expectations, because I think the process of personal development can be seen as almost magic, where like it's just going to take off and it's all going to be easy. It was not easy for me in the beginning. In fact, I doubted the process most of the way in the starting process of it. And along the way, I changed my tune on it. I'm going to confirm some of the things that you guys are doing right now, that you're on the right path, that you guys are doing, that I did, that hopefully is impactful for you to verify that you're on the right path. And I'm going to share some important life lessons. And then hopefully you like the story, because everybody is trying to come back at some point or some level of their life. Now, can y'all see me? Sorry, I lost y'all there for a second. Okay. So I was born in Atlanta. I'm son of a Presbyterian minister. I moved to Dallas when I was 4. I went to Plano West High School here. We were the Wolfpack in my high school, which is where the Wolfpack name came from. And then went to the University of Oklahoma in 2003 and 2008. And this is where everything kind of started for me. Now, the first thing I want to go into, guys, is when I was coming up in life, I grew up with great parents, a middle-class family. I was never rich. I never had like a lot of vacations. And I grew up in an area where kids at my high school were getting like $60,000 cars for high school when they turned 16. So I was around the money and I saw people having it, but I always had this doubt in my mind that was it even possible for the average person? Like for someone like myself that didn't have, wealthy family, I didn't have any good breaks, anything going on. I didn't think there was anything special about me. If I didn't cheat, if I didn't scam people, if I didn't defraud people, is it possible for someone that's average to actually achieve this great life and to become a multimillionaire, to have all the things that we want? Because before we do this, we're looking at it afar and saying, is this even possible? And so I can assure you guys, it definitely is. You can come from anywhere in life and have anything you want in life if you pursue the right path and do the right things over a consistent window of time. Now, one of the first things that I want to point out in business is you're going to deal with a competition a lot. And I grew up in sports. And I want to give a message to you guys for you directly in your businesses, but also for your families and your children at a couple points throughout this presentation. So I did play football, baseball, basketball, soccer, and lacrosse, and I learned a lot of lessons from sports. The first one was how to win and lose. And if you guys are in business right now, you have to understand competition, how to win and lose, and competition is necessary. We need it. And I know people don't want it, but it's what gives you the opportunity to have the life that you can have. If there's no competition, we'd have monopolies. We'd have, no ability to have price control. We need competitors to make sure the market's controlled, to make sure that, things don't run off and people don't charge us $1 million for something that costs $1, right? And if there's no competition, how are we going to compete and drive ourselves? Have you ever thought about how well you'd train or how hard you try if you were playing football and you show up to the other side of the football field and no other team was there? So competition is necessary. Competition is going to give you the ability to drive yourself and push harder, but it's also going to give you the ability to look at something as a model. So study your competition. Don't be fearful of it. But sports also taught me self-development, taught me the ability of repetition, meaning lifting weights and doing sprints, that if we do things over and over and over and push against the process of repetition and resistance, that we can improve and we can grow and we can get better. And I think a lot of people don't understand personal development because they don't understand the progressive way that we can improve throughout our life. A lot of times I think people think that they're either just not smart enough or they're not educated enough or something's wrong with them. Something is wrong with you if you're not having success right now. But there's nothing wrong with the future person that you can become if you decide to become that person. So if you don't have the things you want, you're not having the results that you need right now, it's because you haven't developed yourself into the person that you actually should become. And you know who you need to be and you can. And that's what self-development is going to do. It taught me discipline, showing up routinely to the same meetings, aka practices. In business, consistency is crucial. So consistency, persistency are going to be very important for business success. And then commitment to others. I have to, if I want to run a business successfully, I have to have either employees or a team of agents. I'm going to have to be able to work with others and understand how to handle emotions in windows of time when we're winning, but also losing. Right now, we're in a recession, and those that have strong emotional awareness and strong emotional control are going to get through this a lot better. Now, I'm going to give you a couple quick lessons, and they're kind of cliche, but I'm going to tell some stories in this that are really going to hit hard, which is these are the lessons I learned from my father that looking back today are the reasons I think that I pursued through a lot of adversity and pushed through some of the tough times I'm going to go through here with you in a second. But the first one is on the left-hand side. I've been talking about this quite a bit lately, which is I've seen, family, friends, people in my organization, their children. I'm watching a lot of parents and aunts and uncles and friends let their kids win at things. Let's say they're playing a video game and they're going to win. Instead, they jump their character off and jump them into the ocean and die and let their kid win. Now, this is a very dangerous thing to do because what we're doing is we're conditioning our children that you're actually winning when you're not winning. And what happens is as they get older, when they're not winning, the world's not going to let them win like their parents did. And it's just very tough for them. And they grow up with a golden spoon or a silver spoon in their mouth. And as soon as the difficulty and adversities of life kick in, they step back and sit down. And so when I was little, my dad would play me in sports and card games like chess and checkers and poker and things like this. And he used to play me chess all the time. And he would beat me to the level he could beat me. So let's say he was playing me in basketball. If he could beat me 100-0, he would beat me 100-0. And so he never let me win. He never let me take a piece unless I deserved to take a piece. And so he played me over and over and over and over for years. And then finally, guess what happened? I finally beat him, and he never played me again. But the point was, he wanted me to feel what it's like to earn success and sacrifice and win and actually deserve to win. And I've seen a lot of people put the wrong patterns and habits in their children, that growing up, I see this really impact people. And now running a team of thousands of agents, I can see kind of these patterns play out in people's lives. And so the first thing is, guys, if you have children, teach them the hard lesson of failure, teach them the lesson that they have to struggle, that they have to win, and that they don't win unless they deserve to win. And we're living in a world where participation is being promoted, when the reality is this world is a competition. You do not win in this world unless you actually win. Now, next thing is on the right-hand side, this is the number one rule of success, which is never quit. And I had to deal with a lot of problems when I was coming up with a certain coach that I really did not like. And this was one of the toughest moments of my childhood. Was I played a lot of sports competitively, and I didn't grow very, very fast. And at like 12 or 13, a lot of the kids grew up quicker. And so I stayed relatively short on the basketball team. And my coach, we were in a very competitive basketball team, and is at the state tournament. We were at the state championships, and I was shooting my free throws short for practice, and I was hitting the front of the rim. And I'll never forget it, that there's hundreds of people in the crowd, and my coach is telling me I have to shoot the basketball over the backboard, just so I'm showing that I'm going to shoot it further than the front of the rim. He's basically trying to embarrass me in front of everybody that's there. Now, do you think if this happened there, do you think that every week and every month that I was on this team was any better? So this was a very tough time, and I cried myself to sleep all the time. I wanted to quit all the time. And my dad watched his son suffer, and he knew I was being abused, and he knew verbal abuse and just stupid things, right? But he didn't let me quit. And those lessons of fighting through the things that I didn't want to deal with, even though I wanted to quit, and even though it's painful for my parents to watch this, they forced me to stay and make the commitment. Now, these things seem small, but these are massive life lessons that I picked up at a young age, that when life kicked in really hard here, which I'm going to tell you my story, I did not back down. I pushed through. So as long as you guys never quit, and as long as you guys push forward and stay on the path, you're going to get to where you're trying to get to. Now, after my sports career. Yes.
Real quick. I heard you saying on the left and on the right. You may be intending to present something right now that you're not presenting.
Oh, you can't see my slides?
I don't know. We don't. So I just wanted to excuse me for interrupting, but there we go. Sorry, my man.
sorry about that. Okay.
That's okay.
Well, I think we're pretty good. There was just text, but we're going to get into some actual visual slides here. So I went off to the University of Oklahoma, guys. And this is important, that if you've ever had a part of your life that was a big part of your life, like sports, and then that disappeared. Let's say you had a loved one that took up a lot of your time and they passed away, a relationship, a family member, a business, an opportunity, hobby. If it goes away, you have a void. And how do you fill that void? Some of us fill it with drugs, alcohol, other things they're going to take at that time, working out. And what happened for me was my college hobby became a profession. And so I was very competitive in sports. And then I went into college my freshman year, and I kind of lost that. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was a freshman in college. And what happened was the online poker boom started. And I started playing for a small amount of money. Some of you guys probably remember Chris Moneymaker won the main event. I put $20 into a poker site and ran it into a small fortune. And so I watched this. And so what was happening was a very similar thing that led me to spot an opportunity or a pattern to capitalize on EXP really later, which was brick and mortar being infused by technology. So I saw this happening decades ago. And so I looked for these opportunities throughout my career. So watch for patterns, watch for technology to infuse into brick and mortar. And these are huge opportunities. But what happened was I put $20 in poker site, started playing for pennies and dollars and tens of dollars, then hundreds of dollars, then thousands and tens of thousands. And I became one of the top online poker players on the internet. So I think there was like 7 million poker accounts or something like that. And I got to like the top 300 accounts. So I was playing high stakes poker. I did this for, between 2003 and 2011 as the way I made my living. And I learned a lot of lessons from poker, because there's many different things you can learn from this. I don't know if you guys ever play poker, but financial management, understanding cash flow, meaning when you have a big stack or small stack, how aggressive you can be on spending money in your business. You can take more risks when you have a higher bank account, less risk when you have a smaller bank account. When you have a small business, guys, risk your time, build a business with your work ethic, your time, social media. And then as you scale your business, get more aggressive and trade your time back with the money you have and use your money to buy back your time. It taught me emotion management. Now, if you guys are not aware, to be aware of your thinking and emotions, we're going to dig into this with Napoleon Hill. This is one of the most important things poker taught me, was that if I let myself tilt, which is an emotional shifting off my normal mindset, my normal pattern, I'm going to make decisions that are worse than I would have if I wasn't in that bad mindset. And this is how I basically went broke a number of times. I lost a bunch of money, and I made more bad decisions because I was in a wrong mindset. This happens in business, especially in a bad marketplace right now. And so I also learned the power of communication, body language, and tonality. One of the most important things for you guys to learn how to close in sales and conversion is to learn body language. We communicate in 3 different ways. So we communicate through the words, the actual words that are being spoken. We communicate with the way that those words are being spoken, meaning the tonality, the energy, the emphasis, the delivery, how we make those words feel to the other person. And we deliver with a body language. Now, most of the communication is actually done with the tonality, the delivery, the message, and the body language. So, for example, if I gave Dan and Dan cloned himself and he had 2 Dans and I gave them both the same movie script, who's going to get the $10 million movie role? Who's sitting on Hollywood Boulevard with a beard down to their waist, wondering why they don't have any money coming in, right? They're having the same script, the exact same words, which most people in business, and especially in real estate, how fixated are we on scripts? The script does not matter. It's how you deliver the script, because if the words are the same, the difference maker is the delivery of those words and the facial mannerisms and the energy on how they're delivered. Poker's investing. You're taking information available and taking a risk, saying, do I put money into the pot or do I not? So it taught me in and out processes of moving money based off of risk. And it also taught me how to lose and come back. And if you guys are on rock bottom, it doesn't matter. That's the best place to be if you're going to go up. So if you lose everything, you can come back in this life. I've done it numerous times. And so if you guys are on rock bottom, I'm assuring you guys today is the day if you really want it to start going back the other direction. Now, this is what happened to me. And let's go into the story. So I was at the peak of my career and I woke up on this day, April 15, 2011, to find out my entire life had been taken from me. These websites, the big ones, Poker Stars, Full Tilt Poker, were hosted on offshore islands, registered by like the Alderney Gaming Commission. And what happens when the government doesn't have the ability to get their money out of it or regulate something, they either figure out how to get a piece of the pie or they destroy it altogether. And what happened was the online poker boom was shut down. It's called Black Friday. And imagine putting almost 10 years of your life into something, and it was the only thing that you had put in, had built a skill set around. It was your entire life, your entire identity, and it disappeared the next day. Like if you guys went to bed tomorrow and you've been in real estate for 10 years, and all of a sudden tomorrow they said, turn in your rental properties, turn in your real estate licenses, the real estate industry is dead today. And it wasn't just me. It was all my friends. Every single one of us had our life disappear overnight without warning. It was a very tough time for me. And so I lost everything, my single skill set, identity, my future, my friends, my hope, my self-esteem. And as you can imagine, I was super excited at this moment and everything was going great. Just kidding. So what happened was I went back into a bad mindset. This is important right here, that I tilted. This is an important term that we have in poker or trading. I went and gambled off all my money. So I lost my poker career, and that big problem led me to make more big problems with my life. And I gambled off the rest of everything I had at Windstar Casino and blackjack and craps. And I say that's why it's so nice, because I basically built it. And what happened next was I had to move back home with my mom and dad, as bad as that sounds. So my first point on this is problems are necessary and natural. You're going to run into major issues in life and along your journey. But the main thing is when a major problem shows up, guys, slow down, have the emotional control and awareness to not turn that problem into more problems around it. And this is where really we have big setbacks. So whenever a bad thing happens to you, shift outside, I'm cursed, the world's against me, God hates me, all this type of stuff, to, how do I make sure that I understand that this is natural in business and I'm not going to compound this problem into other problems? And that's where I think a lot of entrepreneurs slow down, as they have bad breaks, something like a tenant stops paying, HVAC goes out, a couple agents lose their team, the frustration, the mindset shifts, and then they take that negative energy and cause other problems in their business. But basically what happened was I went broke, had to move back home with my parents, and then I couldn't even move into my own bedroom because my bedroom was actually full storage. I had to move into my sister's bedroom on a twin bed, I had a bar stool for a desk, and I had a destroyed mindset. Now, take in consideration, just a few months before this, I'm driving sports cars, I had diamond watches, $1,000 nights at the bar. I had everything going, and it was just taken from me overnight without warning. So everything was going and it just disappeared. So I had time to reflect at this moment. And how did they turn out so bad? What was really going on? Like, how did I end up in this situation? And I decided that, this is not where I want to be. I want to be where I know I want to go. And I wanted to have this great life. I wanted to have the ability to travel, have a family, have the materialistic things, the house, the car, the stuff, the food, everything, right? I wanted a great life that we all want. And then that for my friends and family around me. And so the first thing I realized is to get there and to have that, I'm going to have 2 things. I'm going to have both health and wealth. And if I don't have both of these, I'm not going to be able to have that life or help others have that life as well. And so I really studied wealth creation in depth. And so if you guys want anything, study it. So if you want to become wealthy, study wealth. If you want to become physically fit, study it. So what I started doing was I started studying the wealthiest people in the world. I looked back in the industrial age and looked at JP Morgan, Vanderbilt and Henry Ford and, all these big, Andrew Carnegie and all these tycoons. I even looked into like people like Bruce Lee and Arnold Schwarzenegger, anybody that had actually achieved massive success financially or in attention or celebrity status. I studied their lives and started reading biographies. And I started also looking back at my situation, how I ended up where I was at. And then I was looking at a bunch of wealthy people I was playing high stakes poker with and trying to figure out how they had the money to play and lose and also the time to do it. And what I realized was many of them created a net worth going through this process that we're going to go through right here. So I created what's called the wealth quadrant. And I'm going to explain this for you guys. And this is kind of the path to wealth creation. So the first step, number one, is you have to insure yourself. The reason why it took me almost 7 years to get back on my feet was because I had a single income stream. That was a really great income stream, but if you have one income stream and it goes away, where are you at now? So most people think of multiple streams of income and it's taught out there as a way of increasing your income, but that's not really what it does. It's an insurance policy if you have one good income stream that goes away. Because what if you had a billion income streams that make $1 or one income stream that makes $1 billion on its own? What that means is you have a billion income streams over here, one income stream over here, both make $1 billion. So there's zero relationship between the number of income streams that you have and the profitability of it. Now, what if you had the $1 billion income stream and it goes away? So if I had multiple streams of income and I'd been investing that money into rental properties and I'd been buying property and I'd been building other businesses, when this bad moment happened, I wouldn't have been back at home with my parents. Instead, what I was doing was stupid things when I was young, buying cars and partying and stuff like that, right? So I realized that I will never have one income stream again. My belief is you should shoot to have three, because once you have three and you lose one, you're still at two, giving you time to get back to 3, 4, and 5. But if you have two and you lose one, what happens is you get back to that vulnerable position. And we have what's called thought occupation, which is the thoughts that we focus on: fear, doubt, what happens if I lose this, what happens to my business. And this takes time, this takes energy, and it's going to create a less creative, less clear thought process, which is going to slow you down. So once you get to 3, you have this comfortable insurance policy around you and you feel comfortable and you're going to make clear decisions and better decisions. Now, second thing was I realized duplication. Wealth is created through not yourself and your individual efforts, not a solopreneur. I did everything on my own when I was a poker player. If I was sick, I had to play. If I was in a bad mood, I had to play. If someone died that I knew had, every single thing came on my shoulders. That is not how you're going to become wealthy. That is how you're going to have a miserable life, right? So duplication creates wealth. You are a duplication creator. You need to have multiple employees, multiple agents in a team, multiple YouTube videos, multiple rental properties. You need to have other people's money, other people's time, other people's technology, other people's systems. You are looking for the ways to trade your time in a one to multiple relationship, not in a one-to-one relationship, meaning don't pick up a phone and call someone for 30 minutes and have 1 30-minute give back from one person on the other end of the line. Now, sometimes we have to do this in business, but I'm meaning more, it's better to have like a 30-minute video filmed that you can put in front of people and have tens of thousands or thousands of people trade 30 minutes back. Now, these last two right here, equity and passive income, these are the two that you guys obviously are focusing on because I know you guys are a little higher level on this call. These are what create wealth. There's 3 ways to create income in life and business: active or time traded, which is 99% of the world. And then the other percent of the world focuses on equity and passive income or residual income. Now, active income could be a 9-to-5 job, sales, wholesaling, flipping, anything that you can create a great income. But when time stops, income stops completely. So think about equity and passive income, how they play differently with time. So let's say you bought a couple rental properties and a couple stocks and you went to sleep or you got hit in a car wreck and you went into a coma for 12 months and the markets went up. Then you woke up. What does that actually mean? It means there's 0 time allocated to make your net worth expand because you're sleeping, but your net worth grew. So this is how wealthy people understand wealth and how they increase the time and amount of time they're on this planet, because they're avoiding it. They're looking for income streams that expand without direct time allocation. Time traded income keeps you from becoming wealthy because you have to keep trading time. And also you have life liabilities that take up your ability to trade that time into it. You're going to have children, grandchildren, health issues. You could have parents that have health issues, friends and family. Now, the last one right there is residual income. This is the only thing that I focused on. I put passive income on my wall and I made a commitment that this was my only goal. Even if I'm flipping houses or wholesaling or doing sales, it is a transitional window to get me to my residual income, because this gives you time and money freedom. And if you guys, I ask people if they understand residual income, and they say, yes, they do. And then I ask them how much they have. They say they don't have it. And I say, you clearly don't understand what residual income will do for you. Because if you did, you'd go fight Mike Tyson tomorrow to go get it. Because passive income is your freedom. It gives you time and money. And you can make $500,000 a year, guys. I made a lot of money playing poker. I made a lot of money flipping houses, but it was until I started having residual income that the lifestyle I wanted, the stress, the emotions, and everything that I wanted started to come true. Now, here's where I'm going to come into Napoleon Hill. So I'm living at home, and I really fell into a dark, deep depression. To be honest, it was tough for me. I was bankrupt spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially. I had 0 relationships, and fully transparent, I fell into a suicidal moment of my life. I fought this for a very long time, and it wasn't that I really wanted to take my life, obviously, because I'm here right now. And it was that it wasn't that I didn't want to live. It's just I didn't know how to live with the looping thoughts of what was going through my mind all the time, which was my best days were behind me and my future is never going to be as good as my past. And what's the point? And I felt like I was jaded because the world took something from me. And it was a very tough mindset to get trapped in. Now, I think about 2 different ways that I see people get trapped in the past. So we live in the past, the present, and the future. And if you're dwelling in the past based off of past victories or past losses, you're going to have anxiety, depression, fear. But if you're thinking forward, thinking progressive thinking, what does Tony Robbins always say? Progress is happiness. If you're thinking in the future, you're going to be progressive. You're going to be happy. You're going to be motivated. You're going to have energy. And it's because the future hasn't happened yet. You can change the future. The past has already happened and you cannot change it. And sometimes we get caught in past victories like I had, which is my life's never going to be as great as the past. So what's the point of continuing on living? And sometimes we get or trying. And what's the point? Or the other one's a past loss. I had something go really, really well, or, had a divorce or something, and I'm never going to do that again. Right. So the past is very difficult that we have to deal with. We need to forget this, but this was a very tough time for me. And there's 2 things I did that changed my life. And this is really what I did. So one, I'd walked away from my faith for a long time, and I'm just telling you guys the truth. I came back to my faith. Some of you guys, this is important for you to hear this. And some of you guys may not care. I'm just telling the true story. I walked away from my faith for about 10 years in high school. I got into drugs, girls, parties, the same thing most kids get into. And that's when, I was very lost. And then I came back, and that's when I came back to my faith, lots of things started happening and leading me to different doors and different relationships. And even then to this process of self-development. And right after that is when I came across self-improvement and personal development. And what happened was I was at rock bottom, and I was still during this time where I was trying to get things going, and I was really lost. And I was actually at a point where I was having these looping thoughts, and I was like, how do I stop this? And I was going to the internet, typing in how to stop suicidal thoughts, how to not take my own life. And randomly what popped up was Napoleon Hill's 17 Principles of Success, his black and white recordings. I vividly remember this. It's still like it happened today. So one of his recordings popped up, did not know who Napoleon Hill was. And I just started watching it. And for some reason, because it was one of his, old ones from the 20s when it was black and white, I just got really, sucked into it. And he was saying things differently than I heard people speak. He was not trying to sell me anything. He was not trying to sell me a home study course or a mastermind or anything like that. So I knew there's no threat. He's sharing real information. And what he was saying was generational, meaning it worked thousands of years ago. It worked in his time. It works in our time. It's going to work going forward. And I said, this is what I need to study. I need to find generational knowledge that's going to work and transcend time. And so I really started studying his 17 Principles of Success. I actually keep them right here with me on my desk at all times, if you want to see. And I truly believe if you memorize these 17 principles of success, that you cannot not become successful to that level that you want in life. Now, so that was the first thing. That then led me to Think and Grow Rich. And I read Think and Grow Rich, and that led me down a heavy path of self-development. I found great mentors like Earl Nightingale, Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy. And I started aggressively consuming information and books on all this, and really going into the power of my mind, the unconscious mind, how everything is manifested from an initial intellectual process to an emotional process to a physical process. And it was started reading books like As a Man Thinketh, Richest Man in Babylon. So if you guys are in this process, this is exactly what triggered me, and this is exactly what led me to where I'm at. Now, the first 3 things I did was Napoleon. I read a book of his called Outwitting the Devil, I think it was, and that one really made me think about my diet and my body. And it all kind of, I was reading a lot at the same time. But first thing is I let myself physically go. I was overweight, probably by 60, 70 pounds. I did not like how I looked in the mirror. Now, this is so important, guys. Success comes from self-esteem. Everything in life comes from self-esteem and our self-image. And if we let ourselves move from our body into a way that we don't have respect for ourselves, where at one point, let's say we're in great shape and now we're not, we're always in a comparison mindset, reflecting on who we once were compared to who we are now. So if we're better than who we were yesterday, we're going to feel better. But if we're worse than who we were yesterday, our self-image and our self-esteem is lower. Also, my energy levels were low. And so I had no respect for myself. So no one had respect for me. No girls would date me. I wouldn't date me. I didn't even want to look at myself. So the first thing was I got back and I started heavily changing my physical body. I started changing my diet. I started working out again. As I started to lose weight, my self-esteem picked up. People wanted to be around me. And the first thing you need to understand, guys, is there's no first impression without the discipline of your physical body being seen first. And if you want to have respect from others and you want to have people follow you and come to you, you need to demonstrate discipline and do things that show that your ability to have push through adversity and have sacrifice in a body, and changing your physical body is one of them, because you cannot just find a billionaire and say, hey, can you go buy a 6-pack with all your money? It has to be earned. And so if you guys are doing social media and you guys are out there and you're trying to build something and have people come to you and put risk behind it, this is one of the most important things, is that you cannot fake your physical condition. And it's the first thing people see before you have a conversation. And this is not saying it's right or wrong. This is how it is. And when I was in peak physical shape versus when I was way overweight, my business income was substantially lower. The opportunities and the relationships were way less. So that was the first thing I did. The next thing I did was I went on a massive forgiveness exercise. I had been doing a lot of things in my life I wish I didn't. I had a lot of people that had done things to me I wish they didn't. And I'd done a lot of things to myself that I wish I had not. And if you think about it, where we currently are right now is a construct of every idea, conversation, person we've met, action we've taken up until this current moment. And we all have these things that we wish we didn't do and others we wish they hadn't done to us. And we carry this like a weight bench over our shoulders, putting on a little weight each time. And over time, what happens is it crushes us and we can't lift that weight. So we need to start releasing this pressure off ourselves. And so the first thing was I went back to anybody that I ever wronged or felt bad that I could remember. And I just reached back to them, high school girlfriends and, kids and even grade school. I went back and just said, hey, look, I know this doesn't, probably mean much to you, but I need to forgive. I'm going to ask you, I'm sorry I did this. And I'm going to ask you for forgiveness. I went all the way back to a kid that I stepped on his popsicle little boat he built at the park when we were in grade school. I stepped on his little boat because I was a stupid kid at the time. And I thought it made me look cool in front of my friends, but he spent time building this boat. Now, the point is for me to still be able to cognitively pull that up, it's still weighing on me. So I went and I asked for forgiveness. The second thing was anybody that wronged me or screwed me over or owed me money, I just unconditionally forgave them. And I just wrote it off. And the last one was I realized that I'm bullying myself. I'm being too hard on myself. And that unless I plan to be perfect on everything I do for the rest of my life, 100% perfect, then why am I getting so upset that I'm making mistakes in business? Why am I getting so upset at myself if I'm making mistakes with relationships? And if I don't like bullies, why am I bullying myself? So if you guys think about it, when you're hard on yourself, you're actually the bully of your own personal life. And you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody can be perfect. So when we beat down ourselves for making big mistakes, it's kind of ridiculous when you really think about it, because it's guaranteed that you're going to make those mistakes throughout life. So then why get so down on yourself? Just understand it's a fundamental process of your journey of bettering yourself. So I forgave all those 3 areas. And then the next thing was I realized I was getting very angry and I was lost because all I did was focus on the things I didn't have and that I wanted to have, and not the things that I already had and that I should be grateful for. And all of us do this. I saw this at a Tony Robbins event. He had a couple where he's talking about divorces and relationships. In the beginning of a relationship, where it's everything, the other person cannot go wrong, right? They can do anything. And it's just, oh, it's so cute. And then the things that were so cute later in the relationships, like, oh my gosh, I hate it. Right. So what happens in the beginning of the relationship is we focus on what we like in that other person, what we know in that other person. And then as that relationship moves forward, and stress and living over the top of each other and all that, we start to focus on the things we don't like about that person. So whatever we focus on, we feel. And so if I told you right now that your mother died in a car wreck and as an officer that called you, you would break down emotionally. Your physical body would react. You'd start crying. And then if I called you back and said, worst April Fool's joke of all time, your mother's fine, you're going to be like, wait, what? You're going to probably pissed, crying for a different reason of anger right now. But the point is the belief that your mother was dead. Just the understanding in the mind, the belief that she was caused the physical reaction. Whatever you focus on and believe, it doesn't matter if it's real or not, your body's going to react to it. So think about Napoleon's famous saying, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The emotional involvement and the belief of it, if you believe this can happen, your body will physiologically react to it. So we go from an intellectual process where we hold it in the mind to an emotional process where we emotionally evolve ourselves into something. And then we have the physical achievement if we stay on it for long enough. So I'm going to go into a lot more of this here in a little bit, guys. And I'm almost done with some of this. Okay. I went into insurance first, and I went into wholesaling house at the same time. So I started going through this process and I didn't know really which direction I wanted to go in life. I just know that I needed to have, equity. I needed to have residual income, and I wanted to become a real estate investor. And I went to one of those rip-off gurus and put up all this money and got myself into some deep debt. And before I knew it, I was like $100,000 in debt facing bankruptcy. And the decisions we make in life are very important. And I believe this is one of the most important decisions I made, which was I was 100 grand debt. I had maybe 3 weeks left where I tapped out every friend, family member, parent, every credit card. I couldn't borrow any more money. And so I was literally 3 weeks away from going, like hitting the wall. I was already researching bankruptcy attorneys. I could either quit and file bankruptcy. I could go get a 9-to-5 job and get a comfortable job, or I could grab a broom and work for minimum wage. And I didn't want to go file bankruptcy because I hadn't fully fought it all the way to the end. And I saw that as quitting. And I would never respect myself if I didn't fight it all the way to the end. It was my mindset at the time. And I knew that I could get out and I couldn't just do it in a way where I would not have to throw in the towel. I knew if I got a 9-to-5 job that I would get stuck in a comfortable life and give up on the great life that I knew I could have at some point. And meaning that I would give up on my goals and dreams if I got stuck into that 9-to-5. And so basically what I decided to do was I grabbed a broom and I decided to work for minimum wage, and I got a job working at Academy Sports and Outdoors. So here I am living at home with my parents, $100,000 in debt, thousands of dollars in interest payments a month. And I got a job working at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Now, the reason why I did this was I didn't want to get stuck in the job. I needed enough money just to keep my websites going and to have a few things moving forward in time, because I was building out my websites at the time. And this is how I got into YouTube and how certain things and how I kind of got to where I'm at right now. So what was happening was I was watching YouTube to teach myself how to build WordPress websites and learn SEO and internet marketing and kind of how to do all that type of stuff. And I was building out my websites. I was one of the first agents or investors on Investor Carrot. Some of you guys may know Trevor Mock and Adrian Nez. And I was getting a lot of coaching from them at the beginning because nobody was hopping on their mastermind calls, and they were teaching about how to build WordPress, to take private YouTube channels or YouTube channels in general and link those videos to my websites. And it was going to trigger the algorithm. And I started watching my websites moving up from page 7 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2. So I knew I needed to buy time. So I was working for minimum wage, watching my websites go up. I was working all day on my business and then stocking shelves at night. And then my pages hit number 1, or my YouTube channel or my website hit number 1, page number 1 for We Buy Houses Dallas, Sell My House Dallas, some of the biggest keywords for some of the biggest markets here in North Texas. And I went from literally 100 grand debt to sometimes making almost $100,000 in a single week doing wholesale transactions from inbound lead generation from the internet. And so if you guys want to check out my channels, Investor Army is one of my bigger channels. I haven't been too active on it since the lockdowns. The channel I'm posting on is my Connor Steinbrook channel. And then I have an old podcast channel out there. But if you want to follow me, I'm going to be a little bit more active on Instagram going forward. So YouTube is so important, guys, and social media is so important, because if you think about it, if I was 100K in debt, how did I build a business? So if I had money before and I didn't build a business and I used the money, how did I do it? I did it with time and work ethic. So I hear it all the time. One of the limiting beliefs: I don't have money. Good. Lose some, go into debt. Maybe you'll figure out how to build a business like I did, right? Put the pressure on yourself. Sometimes we're too comfortable. And I really, truly believe that if I had not been put up against this pressure and not put up against this fire for so long, I would never have put the energy out and exerted the effort to get to where I got to. It was the fear and the stress and the panic that forced me to do something outside of my normal energy levels that I could have otherwise. And it's really what pushed me through. So if you guys are scared and you guys are terrified, use it for an energy to move forward. Don't use it just to hurt yourself. Fear is very powerful, but it's also a very negative thing. Now, this is when I was getting heavily into self-development around this time. And I started building my businesses, and I kind of mixed up the order of these slides. But basically, what I'm pointing is when you start out in your personal development journey, it can sometimes get you where you're overexcited and believing that this is going to work and work quickly. And I actually ran it over myself and tripped over myself. And that's kind of how I got myself in that debt. Now, here's this cool story about Napoleon Hill and how manifestation works. So this is how I got my first mentors. And this is how it led me to speaking and kind of getting out there on the speaking circuit. Some of you guys may know Jim Ingersoll or Daniel Kahneman. They're big time investors out of the Northeast. And what had happened was I was reading Think and Grow Rich, and I was going to local networking events. And this is where I learned about affiliate marketing. And I signed up on an email list to go into a local event. And I got an email sent to me with what was called a Rehab Valuator. This was a wholesaling software that calculated automated offers. It was like $99. I bought this, and then I got upselled to JV Valuator. So this is where I'm learning about affiliate marketing. And then I got upselled to what's called the BEB, or Bank Elimination Blueprint. Now I'm still in debt at this point. It's part of the story. And the Bank Elimination Blueprint, what it was, is a course teaching people how to buy houses with JV equity partnerships and not going to the bank. Now, it was not bank financeable. and I wanted to build residual income. And I didn't know how to do this at the time. I didn't know about owner financing. I didn't know any other way. And so I bought this. And what happened was it got me into their mastermind. And so I started going into watching these mastermind calls, and I started seeing normal people, John Smith and Susan Smith, becoming successful in real estate. Up until this point, all I'd seen were people on stage in shiny suits and people that didn't know if this was, really achievable. And so I started meeting people that I believed on these, that were real people that could do this. And it started developing my belief system that I'm just like them, that I could do it too. And there's a part in Think and Grow Rich, or something Napoleon Hill talks about, where he's talking about the visualization process of thinking about your mentors, surrounding and sitting at a table and having conversations with them. So what I do when I was laying in bed at night is I had all these, industrialists, all these big tycoons, Andrew Carnegie's and Henry Ford's and all these people. And then I had Jim Ingersoll and Daniil Clayman and all the people that I wanted to be my mentors, and all the people. And I'd visualize myself laying in bed with my eyes closed, talking to them, having conversations, actually giving them the tonality of the, the personality that I thought they had, and actually, with them. So what happened was I was getting myself out of debt at this moment. And I was grateful that I learned a couple of things from Jim's course that helped me do a couple of deals to help me get out of this. So I wrote him a long message and told him the story. And there was a moment when I was working at Academy Sports and Outdoors, where it was a couple of days before Christmas, and I get my name called over by my boss, who was 18 years old, never graduated high school. And he hands me a broom and he says, "Sweep it up." And I look down, there's 50,000 airsoft BBs all over the ground. This little kid thought it'd be funny to take the top off and pour them all over the ground. And so here I am having to pick these up. And it took like 3 or 4 hours to do this, because I had a plastic sweep pan. And when I brushed them in there, they bounced off the back and rolled out. So here I am, literally brought to my knees, hand on my knees, picking these up one by one by one. And I told the story to Jim, and I was telling him kind of my story and how grateful I was. And what he did was he invited me. He was like, "This is a good story." He invited me up to his event and he put me on stage. And I told my story at that time. And at this event was Walter Woodford, Quincy Long, some of these other people that I had been doing this process with, where I've been visualizing. So take into consideration, this is a distant person from me, never met him, visualizing this process because of Think and Grow Rich. I'm going down this, and I'm thinking about, that I'm going to be partners with these people. And then I go to the event, I get invited up personally, I get flown up, I get put on stage, I tell my story, which was developed from this journey of personal development and coming through the Think and Grow Rich process. And this is what got me in front of a lot of these individuals. And then I started becoming partners with them, and I started speaking at different events and going to different events. But this is all because of the visualization process and going through this process. And it is kind of crazy. It gives me chills to think about, because I actually did these things. So you guys are on the right path if you're thinking about this. So this is kind of the process I went through. I went from wholesaling, flipping, rentals, owner finance, land. And I became a successful investor. I began to grow successfully on YouTube. And then that's when EXP came into the picture. And everybody's like, "Have you heard of EXP?" And I blew it off for years. And finally, I was speaking at an owner financing event in Mississippi. And this is also where the law of attraction, and when it's destined for things to happen, you need to have the awareness through what's called the echo effect. You're seeing it over and over and over all around you. I was speaking at that event, and the number one guy at the company at EXP, Rob Flick, was speaking at that event. And we're stuck in a speaker's house for 3 days. And that's when I couldn't really escape. And he showed me EXP. And I basically was like, "I'm going to have to do this." I wasn't licensed at the time. I was actually a brand new agent. I went and got my real estate license, and I came back and I got licensed right as 2018 started. In my first year, I sponsored 40 agents, and we ended about 150, second year, 300, third year, 600, 1,600. And now we're at 2,900 agents. And we're going to go into EXPCon as the number 3 net growth organization in the company. And May was the first time I hit number 1. And we sold almost 10,000 houses, and 10,000 houses so far in 2023. Now, I'm going to open it up, and we can go into a lot of these talking points and go into detail on this, because I try to get through this pretty quickly. But these are the men in the ones I followed aggressively. So obviously Napoleon Hill, then Jim Rohn. If you don't know who Jim Rohn was, he was Tony Robbins' mentor. I just realized I didn't have Tony in here, but he was kind of the one. If you look at Napoleon Hill came first, and then Earl Nightingale was kind of the first influencer. So if you guys do not follow Earl Nightingale, he's one of the best, one of my favorites. He kind of took the torch from Napoleon Hill and took it to the internet way, or took it to the radio waves. And he was the first one to broadcast this message of personal education, self-development. He was that voice that took it forward. Now, after the Earl Nightingale wave was then the Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar kind of window. And they kind of took that message going forward. Brian Tracy's great for efficiencies, goal setting, time management. He's got one of his best books called Eat That Frog. Les Brown was who I listened to for motivation and to pump me up. If you can look up, you can get up, right? And so I listened to all these things on loops. John Maxwell is who I learned aggressively for leadership. So to be able to lead a large organization, you need to have leadership skills. Most all my leadership training came from John Maxwell. And if you guys follow Ed Mylett got most of his classical training from leadership from John Maxwell as well. Zig Ziglar, great for sales. Ed Mylett, as I started to build EXP out, I started studying Ed Mylett because I told you guys I briefly went into insurance. When I went into insurance in the beginning, I joined WFG. And I went to WFG and I flew out to one of their conventions. This is why it's so important for you guys to get to shareholders in EXPCon, because I was in debt. I borrowed the money from my parents. And this is why seeing in visualization and seeing it and not hearing it is so important. And I watched all these immigrants walk across the stage at WFG. Some of them immigrated from Vietnam, getting shot at, and all these crazy stories, making 7 figures or multiple 7 figures a year. And it really hit home with me that this model is not a scam. I've seen this with my lifetime. I just didn't really like insurance. And later I took that experience by watching that happen at WFG. When EXP took off, I created that bridge of the similarities and I hit the ground running. So be looking at past experiences, guys, throughout your life to look for forward-facing opportunities that you're going to identify. And then David built the big team, and then Brian Carruthers. But okay, so I want to get through all that. So I'm open to going into some details with Napoleon Hill and all that if you want me to, and some of that type of stuff. But I just want to kind of tell that story. I would not be here if it wasn't for Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill. I sincerely, truly believe that. It completely shifted the way that I looked at life, because of that moment, I realized that I wasn't a victim of my circumstances, and that my external environment was not, that I wasn't a victim of my external environment. There's two kind of different thought processes. It's either, does your thinking create your external world, meaning the house, the car, the relationships, the life that you have? Or is it the external environment that we live in that creates your internal thinking process, meaning how you feel about yourself, how your self-image is, meaning is it God, government, what's happening in the marketplace, what's happening with interest rates? And what all successful people understand is that it is their thoughts that create their future. It's not their environment that creates who they are. And it's a very different thinking process. So you guys can have whatever you want. And you just have to go through a process of deciding through a definite purpose. And I actually have my goal cards. So if you want to see, I do this right here. So this is my goal card right here. You can see I carry this with me. I've been doing this for years. This is Bob Proctor's, and this is my goal card to hit 10,000 agents at EXP. So if you guys are doing this, we can go in this. I have over here, see if I do vision boards. So I've been doing vision boarding for years. And what's pretty cool about this one is, I'm showing this one. I just got, which you'll see coming out, a brand new Camus 2024 CX21 Pro Bass Boat, which is the bass boat that I've wanted, and I've been wanting since I was a kid. And so I told you guys when I was little, I wanted to be a professional bass fisherman. Now, because I've been able to go through this process and build a successful business, now I can go back and chase my goals and dreams as a child. And I want you guys to do that as well. But I just got a brand new Ram truck and a bass boat. You're going to see some of these things that I've already achieved on here. Now, these are goals that I held visually in the mind. Now, I'll say this and I'll shut up and we'll go into discussion. You cannot have anything in the physical world unless you see it in the mind first. So everything goes from an intellectual process to an emotional process to a physical process, if you listen to how Joe Dispenza describes it. So the first thing is the conceptual grasping in the mind. So let's say that I went to the jungle and I found an Amazonian tribe out there. And I said, do you want a Lamborghini? They're going to say, what's a Lamborghini? There's no intellectual concept or understanding of it. So they can't possibly want it. Now, can you have anything show up in your driveway unless you think about it? Can like a Lamborghini just show up in your driveway? So first process of having anything that you want is you have to think about it. You literally have to think about it. Now it sounds so simple, but it is the most important thing to understand. The reason why you don't have your goals and dreams that you had when you were a child is you believed you could have them when you were little, but you don't believe you can have them when you're big. So you stop thinking about them. You touch on every now and then, it'd be cool to have a Lamborghini. You don't truly believe it. So first thing is you have to actually have in the mind the thing that you want. So the way that we do this is we force ourselves to see this by visual reminders, by having visual goals in front of us. Now, the second part is we need to have the emotional involvement in it. Now, let's say I drive a Lamborghini up in front of that tribe. Some are going to say, cool, I don't know what it is. Some are going to say, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I really want one so bad that I'm going out there in the world and taking on risk and adversity and sacrifice to go get it. The emotional involvement on how bad you want something dictates will you push past risk. So if you guys are not building something or going hard at your business, it's because you don't truly believe in yourself or believe in what you're doing. It's a combination of those two. You need to believe in yourself and the vehicle. But so, for example, this picture on the wall behind me, it could not just show up on the wall. First, I had to think the thought, I'm going to paint something on the wall. I'm going to build out a studio, the intellectual side of the mind, the visual process. It could not just show up there without me seeing it in the mind first. How is like the Mona Lisa painted? It didn't just show up on a piece of paper. The visual process first. You see athletes visualizing. And then the emotional involvement, meaning I'm going to go do it. And then the physical result on the board behind me. So if you think about Napoleon's famous saying, whatever the mind can conceive, the intellectual concept, the conceptual understanding in the mind, I'm thinking about it, right? Whatever the mind can believe, the emotional attachment, the emotional involvement, things get pushed tough, you're going to push through. Also, you guys have heard that, your heart can sometimes be, when people say think from your heart, it's also the same thing as from your unconscious mind or your subconscious. And so when you really think about it, the emotional involvement is the unconscious emotional involvement into it. And then the manifestation process is the physical achievement. So whatever you guys want, you have to write it down on pen and paper. Now, the reason why we write things down on pen and paper is, why do you think? So you cannot write something on a piece of paper without thinking about what you're saying or write what you're writing. If you try right now to write something, a sentence, just try to write something. You cannot do it. So what's happening is you're writing down in word form, creating in picture form, a visualization form, and imprinting a visual picture in the backside of your unconscious mind. So when we write our goals down, we're forcing the awareness to focus on what we want. So we're thinking about it and we're creating a visual picture of it. So if I'm writing, I want a black cat, I want a fat black cat, I want a fat black cat with a white stripe on it. As you're writing it, you're thinking, you're creating the picture, which gives you the ability to start that manifestation process. And then by seeing those visual goals, what happens is, a lot of times, if you don't have these out there, guys, you're going to lose, life gets going, things get hot and heavy, furious pace of business and life and relationships, and then it's going to drift out of your mind. And that's what happens is, once we lose it in the mind and we don't touch back on it in the mind, it goes away forever. So we want the most important things in front of us, our goals all over our wall, everything right in front of us. I had visual goals in my bathroom, in my car, on my refrigerator, everywhere I could go, to remind me of what my definite purpose was, where I was going, and why I was trying to do this. And the next thing was, I tied a third-party emotion to it, meaning people I'd let down if I didn't achieve my goals. So for example, setting goals for others, meaning it's one for ourselves, but if I fail, I'm letting down my family, my friends, my children. This is going to put a lot more pressure on you in a way that you're going to manifest and push through adversity a lot more. And then seeing we're running out of time. Do we have a cutoff here, Dan, in 7 minutes, or do you want me to kind of open it up a little bit?
Let's open it up. We're actually a little bit past time, but I didn't want to interrupt you, so it is all good. But I've got some ahas I wanted to share, and then I wanted to, since we are past time, we might as well go for another 7 minutes if you're available. But yeah, I mean, I just kept writing and writing and writing, and a lot of what you're sharing, obviously, well, not obviously, but a lot of what you're sharing, I've studied myself and implemented, and it's amazing information that you're giving me. Here's some ahas that I got was duplication, and that's something that I've realized that I personally haven't done a great job of. Right, I've been thinking about that over the last several months, and that's something that is in the forefront of my brain right now. Is doesn't matter how hard I work, it doesn't matter how good I am, it doesn't matter how much effort I put into something. If I'm not able to lead others to amplify and duplicate, then I'll have a good life, yet I won't have that life that I desire. Other things that I heard you was, I love the forgiveness on 3 levels. Others that we've hurt, others who have hurt us, and ourselves, and the ourselves is really something that I believe is critical. Gratitude, gratitude and negativity cannot coexist. Physical transformation. I've also gone through a physical transformation. I'm still on my journey, and I'm really grateful for that. And then the last that I'll say, and I got so many down here, but I think this is like simplifies it. Don't go on tilt, right? Not that I've been a professional poker player as you have been, but I certainly understand tilt, and that's something to have that emotional stability, the emotional, in between the lines is something I think is a priority. We got 5 minutes left, team. Who'd like to ask Connor any questions? What are your ahas? What did you guys get from the conversation? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Who'd like to share?
I can throw out a couple things in if you want.
Go ahead, Colin.
To piggyback on that,
Well,
unless you have a question.
Not a question, it's a comment. Thanks for your time. This is a lot of information. I got to watch the playback of this at least twice because there's a lot of stuff that you threw out here. I'm very grateful for it all. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and learn to talk fast, walk fast, read fast, write fast. If you do things fast, the separator is the speed of implementation. Let's say skill sets are held everything equal, and you had a clone, and you just like cloned yourself. The speed of implementation is going to separate you from the pack. So learn how to do things quicker. But to go back to duplication, if you want to scale a business, guys, you need to understand pattern recognition. So that's also what poker taught me. Look for patterns that you can, because when you can see things that happen, let's say A plus B equals C or whatever it is, 100 times, 100 times. Now, when you come to that situation before, you can know that if you follow that pattern, you can exploit the future and take a bigger risk because you've seen the patterns of the past. So the way to build a business is to do things that not just you can do, but everybody can do. It's not if you can do it, it's can they do it? And you need to build whatever you're building, whatever business, if you have employees or agents in it, you need to do it in a way that you can teach something to people, that they can learn it, apply it, and then reteach it later. So if you're doing something that cannot be taught, learned, and retaught later, it's not going to scale. And then just real quick, something else that'll help you guys, the secret to conversion in anything in sales and life and business is you're selling the future. So there's 3 things that impact our decision-making processes, which is time, money, and our emotions. And all you're trying to do if you're trying to recruit an agent or sell a house or get a client or sell any product, service, or opportunity is you're in a conversation in the present moment. You're looking for in the future with the person you're trying to sell something to. You need to show them that in one of those 3 areas, that if they buy the product, service, or opportunity from you, that their life is going to be either better, where they're going to either make more money, free up time and have better time management, or have more time in a certain area of their life, or better their emotional pattern, meaning they're going to have more happiness, better positive, or less negativity. So all we're trying to do is when we're in conversations with people is use our words and use our vocabulary to paint the future that one of those 3 areas that if they buy the product or service is going to improve, and that's going to increase your conversion rates. And then I guess we're running out of time here. Trying to figure out anything else I can give you guys real quick.
Connor, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And I agree with Colin. We'll have to watch this 2 or 3 times to come out, because you just airdropped that wasn't like a, hey, here's something. That was like a boom. And so I greatly appreciate that. CPI community. Because Pamela, you got something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just really wanted to say really quick, thanks for inviting me, Dan, first of all.
You're
but
welcome.
This has been amazing. Connor, I resonated with a lot of what you said, and I'm at the point in my life right now. It's like, you're back against the wall, right? I'm going to be total transparent here. And then I come in, I hear this, because being in real estate and the video marketing, and I made a lot of decisions emotionally, because my mom had passed, and it was just like I was making those decisions so quickly because I was so emotional. Every one of those decisions, it just kind of went down the drain, right? Because there were emotional decisions. I didn't think it through. But right now, this was like perfect for me today, you guys, because I just like needed to hear everything that you said, and going through it with you. And it's like when our back is against the wall, that's when we come up fighting, right? And getting into the self-improvement and meditation is huge for me right now. I'm doing a lot of meditation and just a lot of praying, like you said, getting back with God and our Maker, and being strong with it. But I
You're
thank
awesome,
you.
Pam.
I'm grateful for this, and I won't take much time. I just want to say thank you.
Yep. I'll finish real quick, Dan, and I'll leave you with one last thing. So follow Bob Proctor, go start looking into the law of polarity. This was a big thing that helped me understand. So the law of polarity states that there has to be one and the other, up, down, left, right, inside, outside, day, night, cold, hot. There's always an opposite, positive, negative electron. So what this means is in anything that you're going through that you're focusing on the negative side, you've heard this glass half empty, glass half full. When my world fell apart and everything hit rock bottom, I almost took my own life. But here I am a decade later, looking back at that as the biggest blessing that God gave me, because if I had not had that happen at that moment, I'd been playing poker forever. It would not have led me to the different trajectory that I am to where I'm at right now. So there is a positive in every win. In every loss, there's a positive and negative in every single thing. So what happens is when you're in a bad moment, you're focusing on this, you're feeling like God hates you, the world's cursed you, and everything's coming down on you, but you're focusing on the wrong side of it. Ask yourself, what can you learn from this? Where's the win? Where's the positive? Even if it's just, you're going to, develop a mental toughness going through it. when you focus on what you're learning from it, not what's being hurt from it, you're gonna get through problems and adversities a lot easier. And so problems are opportunities for us to move to the next level, to carry the strength, to become the person that carries strength of the future problems. And I just leave it with this: if you guys are struggling and you're having problems, behind the scenes, conduct yourself in a way that if someone was watching, because I believe God is, I'm not trying to tell you what I believe, I'm just tell you what to believe, I'm telling you what I believe. But I just know that on the surface, a lot of times we act a certain way, but behind the scenes, we're doing it a little differently. Like, for example, if an agent's complaining that they have 3 agents on their team and they can't handle it, why ask for 10? If you can't handle 10, why ask for hundreds? So conduct yourself in a way that the problems that you have are not problems, but they're opportunities and gifts for you to solve, to get better, so that you can have bigger problems tomorrow. Because if whoever's the judge is watching you, if you can't handle 10, they're never going to give you 100, if that makes sense. So when you have these adversities, really can look at it in a way: I need to act and conduct myself in a way that the way I'm handling this would be the way that someone that would be promoted in life would handle it. Otherwise, I don't think you will. But I'll leave it at that, guys. Hopefully I helped.
Connor,
Sorry,
thank you so much. And
Thank
everybody,
you.
Consistent Predictable Income Community, thank you for being here today. Every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, we bring in a top 1% of 1% all-star performers such as Connor Steinbrook to come in and share about their superpower. And I suggest that you check out the Consistent Predictable Income Community on Facebook, and then also the No Broke Months channel on YouTube. Until the next time that we talk to each other, have the best day of your life. Be grateful, make good choices, go help somebody, and go find a listing. God bless you guys.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Thanks, Dan.
Well, thank you.